Hello, everyone. Today we're here recording a video. That was a weird intro. But yeah, anyways, so we're gonna be recording a video on the Hisuian Pokemon and how good I think they'll be in, obviously the new games, Gen 9. So first off, actually, I'm gonna get rid of these two tiers because I think realistically we don't have enough mons for all those tiers. So yeah, I just wanted to break them all down individually, tell you what I think about like how they're gonna be. Obviously if they're let into the next game. So with a more interesting thing with this, right, is like which ones end up carrying over. I think there are leaks concerning like which ones will carry over, at least like some of them that are gonna carry over. But yeah, I'm gonna be talking about all my individual opinions on these mons. I'm obviously not gonna be talking about the pre-evolutions unless I think it's actually relevant. But probably not. So yeah, it's not really that relevant. Interesting enough, by the way, they have Oh no, they do have Sneasler. Okay, cool. So I'm going to be putting them into tiers of how competitively viable I think they are. So first off, we have Arcanine, okay? So Arcanine Hisuian Arcanine is an interesting one. I actually had previously recorded this video, but then like the audio didn't go through, so I have to record it now. So Hisuian Arcanine has like a little bit of a different advantage over regular Arcanine, which is that it has like a little bit higher attack stat. The problem is it comes, and it also has a higher HP stat, right? But it does come at the cost of like having a little bit of a worse type. Also, too, the problem that it has is that it's a bit slower, and like even though you might think that like the speed tier doesn't really matter that much, it can sometimes come into play. Like you have to invest more EVs to be max speed, right? Or like be a good speed. So to me, what I think is going to happen is Hisuian Arcanine is going to be the better offensive Arcanine because realistically, sometimes Arcanines like to go choice band or stuff in certain formats. So you could definitely go with something like Rock Slide, Flare Blitz, Close Combat. And then, you have your filler like Extreme Speed and like Rock Slide, something like that. And I could definitely see this being like more of a thing on like this kind of Arcanine because it has a stronger attack set to kind of like boot with this. And it obviously has a bit more bulk, so you don't have to invest as much into the bulk with it, right? So this could actually be something that I could see being pretty decent. I mean, its HP stats pretty decent. Overall, its defenses, like, even though they're not, like, phenomenal, they're, like, passable. So you could definitely be doing something with this. I just feel like, for the most part, I don't think it's going to be, like, this crazy mon, so to me, it's, like, probably, like, a solid B tier. If I had to, like... maybe A. Honestly, maybe A because of how splashable it'd probably be. At least as like an Arcanine, it's still like able to go for the intimidates and stuff. All right, next up, Electrode. So Hisuian Electrode's kind of a weird one. I don't think it's gonna be good at all. Just to be fair with you guys, realistically, let's also pull it up here so I can actually look at its moveset because I obviously am a little bit more familiar with like Arcanine moveset, but Electrode. There we go. Hisuian Electrode. Let's take a look over here. Okay, so Hisuian Electrode gets access to Thundershock, Eerie Impulse, Rollout. Kind of the same moves as like a regular one would get. Dude, that's actually really funny. So even though it's a grass and electric type. Oh, hold on. Oh, okay, there we go. Hold on. It gets Energy Ball. It gets Chloroblast. The user launches its mass chlorophyll to inflict damage on the target. This also damages the user and lowers the user's action speed. Interesting. So it's like Hammer Arm with more drawback. That's actually kind of a cool move. The problem is like I don't know if it'll really like have any other usage besides that. Energy Ball obviously is fine. Magical Leaf is not really gonna be used. The problem is like I don't think it actually has good enough stats to like take advantage of this. Cause like, okay, let's say even if you were like offensive with this thing, right? And you would like decide to go modest, like look at that special attack, dude. They didn't fix this mon at all, dude. Its special attack's so bad. So I would probably put this thing in like the D or F tier, to be honest. It's like kind of cute. I'm gonna use this shiny, by the way, because shiny looks cool. I probably put in like, I meant C or F. Do we really think it's an F tier? Honestly, it might be, because like I don't see why you'd use this thing. Yeah, I feel like it honestly probably deserves like the F tier if anything, because like it's pretty bad, dude. It's not that phenomenal. Yeah, it's probably gonna go F tier. It's just not good. Okay. Let's go on to the next. So Hisuian Typhlosion. So Hisuian Typhlosion's a ghost and fire type, which is actually really interesting. Let's actually open it up here. Typhlosion. There we go. All right, where's the Hisuian Typhlosion? There we go. Okay, Hisuian Typhlosion. So, Hisuian Typhlosion on level up does get access to Hex, which is whatever. Infernal Parade is basically like Hex but better, so I feel like you would just use Infernal Parade. It's literally Hex except that it has a chance to burn. Shadow Ball, Overheat, like it's just your standard special attacker. I don't actually think it has that much better stats, honestly, as well. In comparison to regular Typhlosion, like I don't think there's too much of a change, and it unfortunately like its hidden ability is still pretty bad. So let's pull up Hisuian Typhlosion here. So its stats are pretty comparable, I think, to the regular Typhlosion. Okay, so it has actually a little bit better special attack, which is nice, but it has lower speed, so like it kind of gets punished anyways on that. Because like this speed tier is kind of whack. It's like slower than base 100. Like being base 100 speed is kind of like a minimum for like really strong fast attackers. Even its bulk like doesn't really translate that well. Like it doesn't get enough bulk out of it. I think it actually has less HP, which is kind of crappy. Let me think. Like I mean, let's see the moves. Flamethrower, Infernal Parade, Shadow Ball. Yeah, I probably wouldn't rate this mon very highly. I mean, I think it's better than Electrode. At least does some damage, you know. If you run like Overheat, Shadow Ball, some other moves, like I could see it maybe doing a little bit more, but yeah, that's probably like a solid C tier for me. Because the thing is like something like Arcanine, right? It has Intimidate. It's kind of splashable. You can swap it in a lot. You can utilize a lot. Like that makes sense. You know what I mean? The problem with anything else is just not phenomenal. Actually, just because I'm curious, what is Qwilfish's base stats? Qwilfish. Hisuian Qwilfish. What's the difference between normal Qwilfish and Hisuian Qwilfish? They're actually the exact same, which is really funny. So, like, let's say theoretically you decided to go Eviolite Intimidate on this. How much bulk does it have? Because it gets knockoff, I'm sure. Or, like, I would assume it gets knockoff, right? If it doesn't get knockoff, then obviously it's worse. If it got something like Parting Shot, by the way, that would be amazing for Qwilfish, but I don't rate the chances very high that they're going to give a Parting Shot. Maybe think of it like Will-O-Wisp or something. It could be good. But yeah, right? Like, it's just, right, not the best. Let's actually take a look at Overqwil versus Qwilfish as well, just so we can get an idea with that. Okay, so Overqwil does have a much better attack stat. And it has slightly better defenses, but Qwilfish probably does have like overall better bulk, which is pretty funny to say. Let's say theoretically, let's max this HP out. Let's give it like Adamant Nature, okay? Like let's say it's gonna do some damage, okay? We're gonna get this thing to hit hard, right? We give it like 52. Its bulk's actually not the worst. The problem is like what moves it gets access to. If it doesn't get something like Will-O-Wisp or like other moves, it's gonna suck. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if I have too much faith. Maybe even like Toxic Spikes, but like that wouldn't even be that great. Dude, you know what I'm curious about actually? If Toxic Spikes plus Hex will be better in this format. I'm not actually 100% sure of that, but we'll find out. Interesting. Okay, so I mean its bulk is fine. Overqwil is probably a little bit better if I had to guess because its attack stats higher, so it can at least like do more. Let's say it got like knockoff. We're assuming it gets knockoff because they have like tutor moves, but obviously they could not. Let's actually look up Overqwil just in case. Overqwil. There we go. Overqwil. Okay. So Overqwil. Aqua Tail, Double Edge, Poison Jab. Barbarage is a cute move, actually. Moves how? Oh, it's like physical Hex. Huh. That's actually really interesting. That's kind of cool. Dark Pulse, Poison Jab, Sludge Bomb. Yeah, it really needs like it's definitely gonna need some kind of help with like a move. If it gets Parting Shot, I could actually see this thing not being the worst. If it doesn't get Parting Shot, then my hopes aren't very high for it. Its speed is actually not the worst though. Impressively, like dude, if they get this thing Parting Shot, it'll probably be better. So okay, we're gonna do this under the assumption that Pokemon does the right thing and gives this thing access to Parting Shot. I'm probably gonna put regular Qwilfish at like C in terms of viability because like it's still probably worse than like its like evolved form. And then Overqwil, I'm probably gonna put it actually like right below Arcanine. Maybe is it like B or A? Okay, let's think about this. Parting Shot, knockoff, Poison Jab, Protect, or Barbarage even. I don't know, dude. That's like actually kind of cool. So okay, so I'm gonna put it in B just because I don't want to overhype it up. But yeah, I'd say like it's probably fine in that regard. Okay, next up we have, okay, so we're gonna go over the Arcanine and Palkia really quickly. I don't actually see them being legal, but if they are, then we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. If they're legal, they're probably just gonna be S. I mean, like, I don't know if there's anything more to be said here. Like, you literally give Dialga a better stat spread. So like, it used to have attack stat, which was pointless. It literally takes out of attack, gives it more bulk. Like, this thing's actually insane. Let's compare it to regular Dialga. And obviously, we're talking about assuming it's like in a restricted format at some point, right? Like here, it literally gets a better special defense stat, which is cracked. It's absolutely insane. So hopefully this thing won't be legal immediately. I don't think it will, obviously. But you know, obviously, pretty gross. So also has a pretty high special attack stat. But yeah, anyways, Dialga gonna be that. Palkia, we'll take a quick look. Palkia versus Palkia Origin. Yeah, so literally in both of these, they just make the mons better by fixing their stat spread. Like, they just take out of, like, attack and, like, make it speedier. I could see Palkia if, like, in the future gens, we have, like, Trick Room teams. Maybe Palkia doesn't want this boost. But for the most part, like, Palkia Origin's a better attacker. So I'm going to say because of Terrestrialization and it's not Dynamax, like, it's probably going to end up being, like, Palkia Origin being an S tier as well. So, yeah, pretty cool mons. Okay, next up. Hisuian Samurott. So let's take a look at normal Samurott, and then let's take a look at Hisuian Samurott. Let's look at these two in comparison to each other. So they both get shell armor. Honestly, I don't really see Hisuian Samurott being that good. Problem is, so okay, so they give it a better attack stat, which is cool, right? They also give it this exclusive move called Ceaseless Edge. Let me actually pull this up right now. Ceaseless Edge. There we go. Okay, so Ceaseless Edge. The user slashes shell blade at a target, aiming to land a critical hit. Shell splinters left behind by this attack will continue to damage the target for several turns. So it's like, it's a strong attack that also creates chip over turns, which is like kind of a cute idea. But I don't know if that's enough to save it. Because like realistically, what you'd probably see on like a Samurai like this is like probably like Liquidation, Ceaseless Edge, Swords Dance, and then Protect. Right, and like even that I don't see it being phenomenal because it's still overall stats are kind of mid and like its speed tier is not fast enough. I think if they made it faster it'd be a bit better. So to me, like Samurott's probably gonna end up being a bit lower on the totem pole. Like I'd probably end up putting it like probably put C, to be honest. I'd actually probably put it below Typhlosion. Because there's so many water types in competition to where it's like, what's the point? I didn't actually know that Basculin had a Hisuian form, funny enough. I'm just curious, so I'm going to look at this real quick. We're going to go a little off topic. Interesting. Does it have better stats than normal Basculin? Or is it like the same? Oh no, it's quite literally the same thing. Okay. All right, I was just curious. Okay. All right. So, back to the list. So, we've covered all these mons. I'm actually going to move all the mons that we covered to the bottom of the list, just so we don't have clutter of Pokemon that we don't care about. All right, cool. So, next up, Sneasel, but the Hisuian one. So, I don't know if Sneasel, Hisuian, or whatever is going to be better. Let's actually pull both up. Take a look. Okay, so, what is the difference between these two Sneasels? Nothing. They're literally the exact same. Okay. Now, what's the difference between Weavile and I'm gonna actually do a double package on this because, you know, obviously they're both relevant to each other. Okay, so we're gonna compare these two Sneasels. Okay, so Sneasel Hisuian is fine, I think. It has really good optimization on its special attack stat, much like the regular Sneasel, because it's the same exact stats. Also has a decent attack stat, right? So I could potentially see something like Drain Punch, Poison Jab, Fake Out, Protect being something, because a normal Sneasler is like a little bit faster as well, so you could definitely do something with that. But Eviolite Sneasel also like has a niche and it has inner focus as well. Although that being said, I feel like Sneasler would probably be better. Like, let's say you're trying to have like a bulky counterpart or something, or like there's some justification for this. You'd probably do something like Eviolite. That being said, though, Sneasler actually loses inner focus. So that's actually really bad for Sneasler, which kind of gives Hisuian Sneasel like a little bit of an edge in a certain way. So let's say we max out its stats, right? The problem is for Sneasel, obviously, is like it doesn't have as strong as an attack as Sneasler. But the problem with Sneasler is it can be intimidated. So it's like pretty rough for it. Let's max out its attack. And I think they just did that as like a balancing thing, but you know, it's not that great for. 2 seconds. I was gonna sneeze. Oh no, it's like that thing where you have to sneeze, but like it's not coming out. Oh, it went away. That's even worse. Okay, anyways. So, realistically, both of the mons, I don't know, to be honest, if I think that they're gonna be that viable. I'm going to put them probably as viable as like a normal Weavile and like Sneasel would be. So Sneasel's probably gonna be in like the C tier of viability, just because it's probably like comparable to like Overqwil and like it's probably actually a little bit worse than like Overqwil and Qwilfish. And then I'm also gonna do Sneasler at the same time because we were already talking about it anyways. Where's it? I'm also gonna move this down here. Sneasler. I'm probably gonna put Sneasler down. I'm probably gonna put it a little bit higher. I could probably put it in like low B, to be honest. I could see it like having some kind of viability, right? But yeah. All right, next up, Lilligant. Lilligant Hisuian. All right, so we actually need to find out what the ability is on this because I actually don't know. If it's Chlor, I'm assuming it's Chlorophyll as well. All right, Hisuian Lilligant. Let's take a look. Okay, so it gets access to Drain Punch. What's its? I don't actually know its stat spread. What's the stat spread? Okay, it's a much higher attack stat than its special attack stat. What's Lilligant's normal stats? It might be a little bit faster. Oh my god, yeah, it's way faster. Wow. That's actually a really substantial benefit to Hisuian Lilligant. No joke. That's actually pretty impressive. I could actually see this one replacing regular Lilligant. Because you want Sleep Powder. We don't know if it gets after you, but let's just go into the assumption it gets after you, right? After you, Sleep Powder, Close Combat, and then you give it probably like Leaf Blade if it gets it. And then you give it Covert Cloak. That could actually be crazy. I could actually see this being really, really good. Because it can't be faked out. It has Sleep Powder pressure. It's after you pressure. It has Close Combat. It has Leaf Blade. Like, it has actual coverage that complements Torkoal. Because the problem with Torkoal Lilligant is, like, the big thing is, like, obviously Torkoal hits on the special side, and so does Lilligant. So it's like, okay, like, sometimes it doesn't always synergize the best. But actually, because of your physical, it could work pretty decently. I actually probably am going to rate this in, like, the A tier. I actually think it has a great chance to be viable. I don't know if it'll be better than normal Lilligant, only because if after use not included in like Hisuian Lilligant, obviously it's worse. But it is a neat chlorophyll abuser, assuming it gets that, right? All right, next up, Basculin. Bro, you're probably gonna get the F. Basculin is worth actually noting because it has stats to be a mon. So I'd probably actually put Basculin in like C, just because I don't think it's like Electrode's bad, dude. Electrode's really bad, so like I wouldn't rate it at all. All right, Hisuian Zoroark. So Hisuian Zoroark's a really interesting one. Zoroark. There we go. Okay, so Hisuian Zoroark is a ghost and normal type, which I'm not particularly sure it's going to be like really that phenomenal. It does get Bitter Malice, which is basically like Hex, and it can also Frostbite. So this could actually be really good if Frostbite's actually, allowed. If it's a spread move, that'd be even better, but I don't think it's going to be a spread move. Besides that, I don't really see too much else it can do. I mean, if it gets Will-O-Wisp, that'd be really dope, because then you could do something like Shadow Ball, Will-O-Wisp, or like Bitter Malice, Will-O-Wisp, and Snarl, or something like that, right? But the problem is like I don't really know what it offers over regular Zoroark, besides the fact it can be faked out. If you terrestrialize it into a ghost type, I could actually see it being like a pretty strong nuke. So the difference between Zoroark and Hisuian Zoroark, I think it compromises a bit of, what is it? Yeah, it compromises its like bulk to have like more offense, which is a huge buff to this thing, right? It's actually arguably better stat wise than regular Zoroark. So to me, like, this actually has potential to like maybe do a little something. Like, I wouldn't say it's like phenomenal, but I probably put it on like a little. I probably put it above Sneasler. This is under the contingency that it gets Will-O-Wisp, right? If it gets Will-O-Wisp, I think it's like B. If it doesn't, I think I'd probably put it like C-ish. I'm kind of debating dropping Sneasler, to be honest. Down. I think Samurott's gonna go down to an F. Yeah, Samurott's gonna go down to an F. I don't think Samurott's gonna be good. Okay. So Braviary. All I have to say about this thing is, okay, so you take him on, right? Let's say you take him on like Braviary, okay? You look at this mon and you're like, oh, this mon's pretty cool, dude. Like, you know, it does something, you know? Then you take them on and you're like, how could I make it worse, you know? And these are pretty harsh words coming from me. But think about it this way, okay? If I have a Hisuian Braviary, okay? And I have a regular Braviary, right? So this thing still gets Defiant, if I'm not mistaken. Let me actually double check to make sure I'm not spreading misinformation. Okay. So let's take a look here. Let's make sure we got the ability right as well. Where is the ability? La, la, la. We're trying to look for its... Okay, there you go. Hold on. Keen Eye, Sheer Force, Defiant. Okay. So you give the mon Defiant, right? You give the mon that you lowered its attack stats on Defiant. Like, brother. And you lower its speed, by the way. You lower its speed. You give it a worse type. You give it special attack. Like, what is this? You just made it worse. Like, it's not even close. It's just a bad mon. Like, I can't believe that they actually did this and like didn't give it competitive. If they give it competitive, I would have been like, all right, you know, like it's maybe, you know. But no, dude, like it's just worse. It's literally worse. I mean, like, it's probably still better than like not Overqwil. It's probably still better than like Qwilfish, but like, come on, man. Like, that's a low bar, you know? Actually, honestly, because of how bad they designed this mon, I'm probably giving it an F. I just think it's worse. It's literally worse. You should just be using Braviary. All right, Avalugg is the next one. So Avalugg, and then Avalugg Hisuian. So Ice and Rock versus just Ice. So like the nice thing with Avalugg Hisuian is it gets better attack. The worst thing is that it came at the sacrifice of its special defense. So now you're even weaker to special moves. And the other problem you have with this, right, is Ice and Rock is not actually that good of a defensive type. You're still weak to water on rock. You're still weak to grass on rock. You're double weak to fighting now. You're quad weak to fighting. You lose a ton in terms of like your actual like type and stuff, right? So let's go to Avalugg real quick. Avalugg Hisuian. Okay. All right. Okay. Just take a look at this. Okay. You basically gave this thing a worse setup than what it could have had. Now, that being said, Iron Defense Body Press, like, I would also want that on a regular Avalugg. There is nothing that this Avalugg offers me that I would not want on regular Avalugg. And that being said, I don't even think regular Avalugg's that good. So to me, this literally goes in F. You took a kind of bad mon, you made it worse. Like, it's not gonna be good. And you gave it a type that it didn't need, right? Like, if this thing was fighting, if it was ice fighting, and it got Iron Defense Body Press, it actually could have been good, right? Like, I could see that being good. But yeah, no, it just wasn't worth it, right? It definitely got like screwed over. Okay, so Hisuian Goodra, I actually do. Obviously, I mentioned that like I looked at these mons before, like done a video, and then like the file got corrupted or whatever. Hisuian Goodra literally has no drawbacks compared to regular Goodra, assuming it has Flash Cannon. Like, regular Goodra is substantially worse. And like you lose some HP, but it's fine because you get like way more out of it, right? And like it just does so much more. If they had taken out of attack on this mon and they had put it into special attack or like HP, it would have been like such a good mon, in my opinion. But like it's actually a very smart like distribution for the Mon in terms of what it does, in terms of its abilities as well. You guys already saw it, like has overcode, it has like all that stuff, right? So it doesn't really change too much. But yeah, it was just, it's fine. Like it has, gooey, all those standard abilities. My opinion, like I'd probably just see this thing being like a Trick Room attacker, right? Like a strong Trick Room attacker with like a ton of bulk, because it actually does have like a decent chunk of bulk, right? Like its special defense is actually kind of nuts. You could definitely like maybe use in Trick Room or something. I wouldn't say it's like phenomenal. I'd still probably rate it lower. Like I'd probably put it in like Overqwil range, but like less than like Zoroark and Overqwil, in my opinion. All right. So next up, Decidueye. This one's going in F. I don't rate Decidueye very highly, and I looked at its stats in the other video. It's literally probably like one of the worst Hisuian like forms I've ever seen. Oh, sorry. Decidueye, Hisui. All right. So they literally took this thing and they said, you know what this spawn needs? This spawn needs to be worse. And what do I mean by that, right? So sure, it gets an attack buff, right? Okay. And they give it a defense buff. Okay. But they take out of its special defense, right? And they're like, okay, so we're going to make it weaker and we're going to make it slower. And like even in a Trick Room, right? Like its abilities do not compensate for what it gives. If they give this thing Defiant as a hidden ability, I think it could have actually been decent. But why would I use this one over like any other grass fighting type or just any other fighting type in general? Like there's no reason. So for me, it's like F. Wyrdeer. Okay, so Wyrdeer is gonna be like a C for me. It's probably like, honestly, yeah, I'm gonna have to start lowering these guys because they're actually pretty bad in comparison. Wyrdeer's like just avoiding F tier in my opinion. Wyrdeer's like, it's just not that great of a mod. Like, okay, so it gets Intimidate, right? Which is kind of cute. But like you gave it a weird stat distribution. You should have committed to either attack or special attack. Honestly, special attack would have been better for this spawn. And if you took out of the attack and you gave it better bulk, it actually could have been decent. Because it's a Trick Room setter, right? Intimidate Trick Room setter is like a niche that no other mon has. But like even if you look at its moves are like pretty whack or like weak, where like they don't do much for it, right? So Wyrdeer. All right, a Reckless, whatever, blah 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 blah. I don't care about the description. I just care about the abilities. Okay, so it's Intimidate, Frisk, Sap Sipper. Obviously, it's gonna get Trick Room. Size Shield Bass. Cloaks itself in psychic energy. User slams into target. This also may raise the user's defensive stats. That's not that useful in doubles because doubles is fast paced, right? Zen Headbutt doesn't matter. Extra sensory, whatever, doesn't matter. Calm Mind, like maybe as like a ZU. I'm saying ZU in like Smogon terms, like like a Calm Minder, maybe, But like yeah, it's just gonna be like Trick Room, Hyper Voice, maybe if it gets it. Probably Psyshock and like Protect, but like that's not even that worth it, Like there's just nothing it offers that's better than another Trick Room setter, and like even the Intimidate that you have with it is like not good enough. Like you didn't buff its attack, right? Like if we look at, I think Stantler's the pre-evolution, right? Like I mean Stantler's just a bad mod, but like really, like I don't know, man. It's not. I'm not impressed. You know what I mean? I think it needed a better stat distribution to be a better mon. So, yeah, for that, it is going in the C tier. All right, Kleavor. So, Kleavor, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, maybe. But, like, okay, so it's Bug Rock, which is already a problem for it because, let's say your Life Orb Sheer Force, right? Which is probably the only way you'd run this thing. Rock Slide, X Scissor. Okay, and then, like, Sword Stance. Okay, let's assume we're going with, like, a Sword Stance set. Okay. What would be the #1 contingency to be a good Sheer Force attacker? Either be really slow and good in Trick Room, or be really fast and good out of Trick Room. And they gave this thing 85 speed, and they gave it really bad bulk. So like, you basically murdered them on. Like it has such a good attack stat, so it might have had some potential if they balanced it out a bit more. But pretty much they were like, yeah, we're gonna give you a ton of attack, but you're not allowed to do anything else that you want, right? So I don't see this mod being very good, to be quite honest with you guys. I think that if it had much lower speed and more bulk, it would be much better. But because of the stat distribution, I think it's just ruined as a Pokemon. Like I'd probably put it in like honestly, I think Wyrdeer is pretty bad. I'll probably put it like below Wyrdeer, to be honest. All right, Enamorus. So I don't want to like. There's not too much I can say about this spawn. But Enamorus and Enamorus Therian. So Enamorus Therian has Overcoat, and I think its stats are actually way more conducive to being a Trick Room attacker, which is actually kind of an interesting niche that none of the other genies have, right? Especially because it's Overcoat, so it can't get like screwed by Amoonguss. So actually, as like a general mon, I could see this thing being like decent. This is a pretty high special attack stat. You give it something like Earth Power, Dazzling Gleam, like maybe like a Fire move or like Air Slash. Like, okay, I could see this, right? Like I could see it like being like a Life Orb special attacker, you know? In Trick Room. And this could actually be really decent. Like, it has good bulk. It has perfect bulk for it, you know? That being said, right, what else like, is it really doing anything other than that? And, like, to that, I would probably say no. Like, it doesn't really offer you much, you know? So, to me, I think I put this form in A tier only because I could see it being a really strong, like, Trick Room attacker, right? And then for regular Enamorus, which is way more offensive, it has like no bulk in comparison, basically. And it's contrary, okay? So now what would be important if you're a contrary mon, right? Is you would want to have something that you can boost off of, right? So let's say you get superpower, right? Theoretically. Okay, that's cool. But is it really better than having like a Defiant Thundurus or a Defiant Tornadus? Like, I don't think so. Like, genuinely, this genie, also its speed tier is like really weak. It's slower than it's like slower than all the other genies, and its typing is not really great defensively. Like, it doesn't actually offer it any protection. So to me, I don't actually see this mon being super phenomenal. I'd probably put it like, it's obviously gonna be better than like your average run of the mill like Overqwil, stuff like that. So it's gonna go in like B, but I don't see it being that great. To be honest with you, I'd actually probably put the Therian form in the above Lilligant, maybe. Like, they're both gonna be probably like one niche mons. I think Arcanine's more splashable out of all of them. All right. Next up, we have Basculegion. Okay, so Basculegion, I'll be real with you. I don't get what the mon was trying to do. You know, so like, okay, so let's look at regular Basculin, right? So it has a better attack, right? Which is its main benefit. Okay, it can be a bit bulkier as well, which is nice. I will give it that. It also is probably better than Basculin on the virtue of maybe you can use it in Trick Room, right? And you can like attack with it, I guess, you know? So maybe I can see it having a bit more of a niche over regular Basculin as like a Trick Room attacker. That being said, I don't know if it improves it enough to where it's like good. Like, I think if they had made this faster and more offensive, it might have actually been a pretty decent Nukemon, at least maybe in singles. I don't know about doubles. Like, doubles, I don't think so at all. I'm speaking obviously more so in terms of doubles anyways on this list, but yeah. It has a cool shiny at least. But I think that realistically it needed more. Like, it probably needed to take out a special attack here and like invest in its defenses, and it would have been really good, right? But I think it does improve on the mon a little bit because at least you can use it in Trick Room. So to me, I would probably put it in at least like low B. Maybe like, no, probably high C. It's probably like around Qwilfish level of viability. I don't know the difference between these. Wait. Oh, that's just a female ver. Oh, okay, okay. I see, I see. Wait. Oh my god. Wait a second. This changes everything. The female and the male have different stats. Interesting. I still think the female's worse though, because you literally just take out of like, you don't like, it would have to full commit to special attack to be a good special attacker, but it at least would get like adaptability like Hydro Pump and Shadow Ball, right? It doesn't get Nasty Plot, I'm sure. It's Protect. All right, let's actually take a look at this. Basculegion. Interesting. Okay. So that's so interesting. Interesting. Okay. So it gets access to Calm Mind. It gets access Shadow Ball. We assume Hydro Pump. I'll assume Hydro Pump if not, whatever. The exclusive move is unfortunately is unfortunately exclusive to the physical one. And Aqua Jet as well. That'd probably be good on the physical one. Interesting. Okay. I'm actually interested in which one's going to be better. I still think the physical one is better. But for the female Basculegion, I'll probably put it like... I'll probably put it like above... Actually, yeah, I'll probably put it next to the other. I'll probably raise this Basculin to... Or Basculegion to be... And then, yeah. I think this is pretty reasonable. Okay. Ursaluna. So I'm just gonna get right to it. I actually think this Mon's probably like the only A that like fully like really deserves a spot besides these other three. Like it has the craziest stat distribution I've ever seen. I think if it had actually a little bit better stat distribution, it might even be broken. But like, dude, they give it really good HP, really good defense. They made it super slow. They could have made it slower. That would have made it better. If they actually made it slower and put more in special defense, I think this thing would be cracked. But dude, Guts Facade with terrestrializing or Guts Earthquake with like terrestrializing could be absolutely insane. It also gets Swords Dance, so in Trick Room you can Swords Dance with it. You give it Flame Orb. This one I could actually see being crazy good, right? At least in Trick Room. Well, obviously only in Trick Room, right? But I could actually see this thing having some kind of viability in VGC to where I'm like, okay, I could actually see this being good. Like, dude, this thing with Brave, 211 attack, Guts boosts its attack by 1.5, so it's like 322 or something like that. And then you have Facade, which is 140 base power. Absolutely insane. And then you could even do normal terrestrializing on that, and you have the probably one of the craziest nukes in the game. You know? So to me, that's like kind of it's neat, you know? It's like a cute thing it could do. So I'd probably give it a little bit higher rating because of that. Oh, I think that was the last one. Yeah, it literally was the last one. Yeah. So Ursaluna, I actually think is pretty good. I'd probably actually put it above. Okay, so I put Lilligant up here. You know, honestly, these mons are all pretty comparable, to be honest. But yeah. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this list. I felt like I was pretty thorough in it and like breaking down the mons. If you guys have any like disagreements or anything, obviously leave it in the comments. Let me know. Make sure to check out Patreon if you guys would like. Obviously, it helps support me, and it's gonna be super active come Scarlet Violet. And also to make sure to check out coaching if you guys would like to get coaching for Scarlet and Violet. You know, obviously, thank you guys for supporting the video as always. Make sure to let me know in the comments what you guys would like to see in the next video. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.